You're sitting across from her at dinner, the conversation is flowing, she's laughing at your jokes, everything seems to be going well. But then you get home that night and realize you have absolutely no idea whether she was actually interested or just being polite. Sound familiar? Here's the truth that nobody tells you. She already told you. Multiple times. You just weren't listening. Because here's what most men don't understand. Women rarely communicate interest the way you think they should. They won't look you in the eye and say, "I'm attracted to you." They won't hand you a signed document declaring their intentions. Instead, they speak a completely different language, a language that doesn't use words at all. And if you can't understand that language, you'll walk away from opportunities that were practically gift-wrapped for you. This isn't about playing games or decoding secret messages. This is about understanding something fundamental. Women communicate desire through physical behavior that happens below the level of conscious thought. And the men who recognize these signals never have to wonder if she's interested. They already know. They see it happening in real time and they respond accordingly. Meanwhile, the men who don't understand this language spend their entire lives confused, frustrated, and convinced that women are impossible to read. But women aren't impossible to read. You're just reading the wrong book. Scientists who study human behavior have discovered something fascinating. In social situations where attraction is present, women typically send out about 7 distinct signals before most men even notice the first one. 7. That means by the time you're starting to think maybe she likes me, she's already been broadcasting her interest for the past half hour. And these aren't vague, subtle hints that require a detective to decode. They are happening right in front of you. Often within touching distance. But most men miss them completely because they're focused on the wrong things. They're thinking about what clever thing to say next. They are worried about whether they sound impressive enough. And while all that's happening in their head, their body is having a completely different conversation with hers. A conversation they're not even aware is taking place. Here's what makes this even more interesting. The most revealing signals don't come from where you'd expect. Not from her eyes, not from her smile, they come from her hands. Because hands are the one part of the body that people forget to consciously control. You can train your face to look interested even when you're bored. You can adjust your voice to sound enthusiastic. But your hands operate on autopilot. They are connected to the primitive parts of your brain that react before you even have time to think. That's what makes them so reliable. That's what makes them so honest. When you know what to look for and how a woman uses her hands, you gain access to information she's not even aware she's broadcasting. Today I'm going to walk you through the specific hand movements and gestures that reveal when a woman has decided she's attracted to you. These are physical behaviors backed by research and observation. Things that happen consistently across different cultures and contexts. And I'm warning you now, once you learn this, you can't unlearn it. You'll start noticing these signals everywhere. At coffee shops, at work, on dates, and suddenly you'll have clarity in situations that used to leave you completely confused. The pressure shifts when you have this knowledge. Because now you'll know exactly when she's interested. The only question left is whether you have the confidence to do something about it. Let me start with something that happens so frequently. You've probably seen it a dozen times without recognizing what it meant. Watch what happens when a woman is genuinely attracted to the person she's talking to. Her hand will drift up toward her hair. But here's the detail that matters. It's not just a quick adjustment. She'll touch her hair near the side of her face or tuck it behind her ear, and then her hand will slowly trail down her neck, down to her collarbone. That slow descent is everything. A woman who's just fixing her hair will touch it and move on. She's got somewhere else to be. But a woman who's attracted will let her hand linger. She'll draw out the movement, make it last longer than it needs to. Why does this happen? Because she's subconsciously directing your attention to one of the most vulnerable parts of her body, the neck. In terms of evolutionary psychology, exposing your neck to someone is a profound trust signal. It says, I feel safe around you. I'm not on guard. I'm open to where this might go. A researcher spent years observing women in social settings, documenting their behavior in bars, parties, and restaurants. And this specific gesture, the hair touch combined with neck exposure, appeared consistently when women were interested in someone. It wasn't random. It wasn't coincidence. It was a pattern. So, if you're sitting with a woman and you notice her hand keeps floating up to her hair and slowly trailing down to her neck, pay attention. That's not nervous fidgeting. That's an invitation. And here's the part that frustrates me. Most men see this signal and do absolutely nothing with it. They just keep talking about whatever random topic they were on. And eventually, she stops doing it. Not because she changed her mind necessarily, but because she assumed you weren't interested. The window was open, you didn't walk through it, so it closed. Now, let me show you something even more subtle. You're sitting across from a woman at a cafe. She's holding her coffee cup. And you notice her fingers keep tracing slow patterns along the rim. Or maybe she's running her fingertip up and down the stem of her wine glass. Or dragging her finger along the edge of the menu. Most men see this and think nothing of it. Just something to do with her hands. But what's actually happening is something psychologists call displaced touch. She wants to touch you. But the context doesn't allow it yet. You just met, you're in public. Social norms create a barrier. So, her body redirects that impulse onto the nearest object. The glass, the cup, the edge of the table. Her fingers moving slowly. Across a surface is her managing physical tension that's building because of you. Think about how powerful that is. Her attraction is so strong that her hands have to touch something just to deal with it. Studies on nonverbal behavior found that these kinds of tactile displacement behaviors increase dramatically when someone is near a person they find attractive. It's not boredom. It's barely contained interest expressed through a safe substitute. And here's what I find almost funny. A woman can sit there slowly running her fingers along the rim of her glass, practically telegraphing what's going on inside her mind. And the guy sitting across from her will be completely oblivious. He thinks she's just absent-minded. No, she's dealing with attraction she can't express directly yet. The object is just a stand-in. Because she can't reach across the table 15 minutes into meeting you and run her fingers along your arm. Well, actually, sometimes she can. Which brings me to the next signal. When a woman deliberately touches your arm during conversation, something significant just happened. Physical touch requires her to override her personal space boundaries. Women don't casually touch people they're uninterested in. If she places her hand on your forearm while she's laughing, that wasn't an accident. If she taps your shoulder to emphasize something she's saying, that's not just animated conversation. That's intentional. She's testing how you respond. Do you lean in? Do you pull away? Do you return the gesture? Your reaction tells her everything about whether it's safe to keep escalating. Research on social psychology showed that light touch during conversation increased perceived attractiveness in both directions by a massive margin. When she touches you, she's signaling that she finds you attractive, but she's also making herself more attractive to you in that exact moment. Women understand this instinctively. That light touch on your arm is one of the most deliberate and effective moves available to her. Here's what most men don't realize. If she touches your arm once, she's interested. If she touches it twice, she's very interested. If she touches it 3 times and you still haven't reciprocated or escalated in some way, she starts to question whether you're even picking up on what she's communicating. And once that doubt creeps in, the attraction starts to fade. Not because she lost interest, but because she thinks you're not interested in her. The signals stop, the energy shifts, and the man sits there 10 minutes later wondering what changed. What changed is that you missed your cue 3 times in a row. Here's one that almost nobody talks about. Watch her hands when she's talking to you. Specifically, watch her palms. When a woman shows you open palms during conversation, whether she's gesturing with hands open, resting them on the table with palms up, or handing you something with a palm up presentation, she's communicating openness on a level deeper than words. Closed fists, hands tucked under the table, palms hidden, these all signal guardedness, self-protection, distance. But open palms facing towards you, that's the body saying, I have nothing to hide from you. I'm completely receptive right now. This goes back thousands of years. Showing open palms was how early humans signaled they weren't carrying weapons. They came in peace. It's hardwired into us as a trust signal. So, when she's sitting across from you talking with animated open palm gestures, she's not just naturally expressive, she's literally opening herself to you emotionally and psychologically. And the most powerful part? Most women do this completely unconsciously. She's not thinking, let me show my palms to signal trust. Her body is doing it automatically because her attraction has activated a response she can't control. This is the kind of signal you can't fake. It comes from somewhere deeper than conscious thought. And when you start recognizing it, you realize just how much she's already told you without saying a single word. Now we are entering territory where she's practically spelling it out. If a woman finds a reason to make hand-to-hand contact with you, comparing hand sizes, jokingly reading your palm, brushing her fingers against yours when passing something, she's made her decision. Hands have one of the highest concentrations of nerve endings in the entire body. When her fingers touch yours, both of your brains release a small surge of bonding hormones. She feels it, you feel it, and she knows you feel it. This is where so many men completely fumble the opportunity. She creates this moment of contact, this tiny electric bridge between her body and yours. And instead of letting it breathe, instead of holding the moment for even 2 extra seconds, the guy jerks his hand away like he touched a hot stove. And just like that, the moment dies, the door closes. When she touches your hand, stay there. Don't flinch. Don't rush away. Let the contact exist for a moment. Hold it with calm confidence. If you can do that, she recognizes that you're someone who isn't afraid of closeness, someone who isn't afraid of connection. And that confidence is often the exact thing that makes her think, yes, this is the guy. Let me show you something subtle but incredibly revealing. The inner wrist is one of the most vulnerable areas on the human body. Thin skin, visible veins, historically a point of fatal vulnerability. When a woman exposes her inner wrists to you, resting her arms on the table with wrists turned up, adjusting her bracelet and letting her wrists stay visible in your line of sight, or resting her chin on her hand with wrist turned toward you, she's sending a primal signal. This comes straight from evolutionary behavior. Exposing vulnerable body parts to someone is an unconscious way of saying, I trust you enough to show you the parts of me that are unprotected. Researchers who study nonverbal communication have documented how wrist exposure correlates strongly with romantic interest. It emerges from such a deep instinctual place that it's nearly impossible to fake. So, if you're on a date and you notice her wrists are consistently turned toward you, open and exposed, understand what's being offered. She's communicating that she feels safe enough to let her guard down completely. And if you see that signal and don't escalate, if you don't, at minimum, create some deeper physical connection, you're essentially ignoring that trust. And a woman who feels her trust was ignored won't extend it again. The opportunity passes. And it doesn't come back. Here's how you know she's not just tolerating your touch, but actively wanting more of it. You touch her lightly, respectfully, testing the waters. Maybe you brush her arm while making a point. And then moments later she touches your arm in the same way, or you gently touch her shoulder as you're walking and she leans slightly into that contact instead of away. This mirroring is her saying, yes, I want this. Keep going. Mirroring is one of the strongest indicators of mutual interest in all of nonverbal research. When it happens with physical touch specifically, it's confirmation. She's not just accepting your proximity. She's actively participating in creating connection. Most men never pay attention to whether their touch gets mirrored back. They just hope for the best. But when you start noticing mirroring, you gain absolute clarity. If she mirrors your touch, that's permission to continue. If she doesn't, that's information, too. Either way, you're no longer guessing. And now, the most powerful signal of all. The one that separates polite interest from clear intention. When a woman places her hand somewhere on or near you and leaves it there, resting her hand on your knee during conversation, placing her hand on your chest while laughing, patting her hand on your back as you walk, she's moved beyond testing. She's announcing her decision. A brief touch can be playful, can be accidental, but sustained contact is deliberate. It's a choice she's making in real time. She's creating ongoing physical connection, which means she's comfortable in your space. She trusts your closeness. And she wants you to recognize that the line between casual and intimate has already been crossed. This is the signal that means I'm ready for you to do something about this. The window is wide open, walk through it. Here's what ties all of this together. These signals have an expiration date. A woman won't keep sending them forever. She'll test the waters with one gesture, then another, maybe a third. And if she gets nothing back, no acknowledgement, no reciprocation, no escalation, she'll pull back. Every single signal disappears. And once they're gone, they don't return. I've watched this happen more times than I can count. A woman puts herself out there with clear, unmistakable cues, and the man just sits there, either completely oblivious or frozen by hesitation. And eventually, she closes off. Her hands return to her lap, her body angles away, she checks her phone, and the man wonders why the energy suddenly shifted. The energy shifted because she gave you the map and you didn't follow it. The window is real. The clock starts the moment she sends that fast signal. If you respond with warmth and confidence and reciprocated touch, the window stays open. Hesitate too long and it shuts. Not with drama, quietly. And that quiet closing is the worst because you won't even notice it happened until it's already too late. So now you know. The slow descent from hair to neck, the fingers tracing objects, the touch on your arm, the open palms, the hand-to-hand contact, the exposed wrists, the mirrored gestures, the sustained placement, every single one is a woman telling you without words, I've chosen you. The only thing left is for you to choose her back. And you don't do that with words. You do it with action. A touch returned, a hand held, physical escalation that says, I had every signal you sent and I'm right here with you. If you actually made it to the end, leave a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I want to see who's committed to understanding this and actually using it. This is the kind of knowledge that changes everything once you have it. You stop guessing. You stop wondering. You start seeing clearly what's been in front of you the whole time. And that clarity gives you confidence. Not arrogance, not manipulation, just a quiet certainty that comes from understanding how human beings actually communicate attraction. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about tricks or tactics, it's about paying attention. It's about being present enough to notice what she's already telling you. And having the courage to respond when she does.